Greetings, Dr. Wolfula here to present a very important special audio presentation that your ears cannot dare unlisten to. Does that make sense? Oh, it doesn't matter. Listen to this.
Hey everyone, welcome to someone's favorite movie. This time we're presenting the episode that we recorded on Livestream for the Cure 5. In case you missed it, Livestream for the Cure is a yearly event put on by Nick, formerly of the Epic Film Guys and currently of Mr. Nikoli's Kitchen. It's an event that brings together indie podcasts from all around the globe, united in one cause, raising money for cancer research. So it's our honor as someone's favorite movie to be on there for the first time. But we didn't come alone. You're going to hear Nick chime in on our featured movie, George A. Romero's Martin, but also the one, the only, the immortal, Dr. Wolfula himself returns to help out. So it's a very fun episode. In case you missed it, here it is. And by the way, you don't need a fancy event to donate to cancer research. Go ahead. If you like this episode, go to the Cancer Research Institute page and just leave a small donation there. That would be great. Welcome to someone's favorite movie. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm coming to you from the project outside beautiful Bay City, Michigan. I changed my base of operation.
How dare you?
How dare I? God damn it. It's my extreme honor to welcome my co-host, Tom Coe. What's up, sir?
Just happy to be here tonight, gentlemen. Very happy.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my extreme honor to welcome back to someone's favorite movie. With us is our pal Sid. He's the man behind Doctor Wolfula and Goulash. His YouTube channel boasts over 28 million
awesome.
views. Perfect. You can find him on youtube.com/Dr. Wolfula, pounding frescas and analyzing all the horror movies that you love to enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, might I add that he recently won the Silver Bolo Award from the legendary Joe Bob Briggs on the Last Drive-In show on Shudder, which is given to all the deserving horror creators all across the internet. Congrats, sir. How did that feel, winning the Silver Bolo?
It was pretty incredible, I have to say. Yeah, I didn't see it coming, win it, so it was a complete and total shock. So, yeah, I haven't gotten it yet, but I'm hoping someday soon they'll message me, I guess. But it's definitely really cool to just be mentioned on the show. Like, that was just insane.
Do they actually send you a physical award?
I do, but I guess I have to message them. I messaged Shudder, and they said they weren't in charge of that, so I have to message Darcy. But I'm a little nervous about that. So,
yeah, right. That's a
we'll
little
see.
bit. Yeah.
If worse comes to worse, I see another fan award in your future, sir.
And then I don't get that. I mean, I didn't get the silver play button either. So I think it's just something about silver. Where
well, you are a
it's
werewolf.
a little trickier.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Yeah. Well, tonight, Dr. Wolfula said, I award you the Silver Someone's Favorite Movie Award. It will never come in the mail, but it's yours. You own it. Congrats.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I am honored.
Yeah. With us also is our pal Nick, host of Livestream for the Cure.
And I got to shout out right now, Destruction in Human Form. Jared Taylor, he hates it. Guys, the easiest way to get this total to 15,000 is just to donate uneven numbers, because Jared Taylor will round it up $55.31 to get us to $5,500. $5,500 for a future immune to cancer for the Cancer Research Institute. Thank you, Jared Taylor. You are absolutely the man.
Is there a chat command to bring up the donation?
No.
Oh, okay. I was like because I saw in one chat they had you put exclamation donation and like it brings up the link just in the chat.
I mean, I don't know. That's way too technical and fancy for me.
This is
man.
why we
But yes,
need a
everybody
Dan.
go donate. Go donate for
This
me.
is why Dan's
your
here.
pal
Yeah.
Dr. Wolfula. Go donate.
That's right. Today we're talking about the movie Martin by George A. Romero. Obviously, most people know him from his Living Dead movies, but after Night of the Living Dead, he actually tried his hand at a few different things. There was 1971's There's Always Vanilla, which is actually a romantic comedy, believe it or not. Season of the Witch, The Crazies, and Martin in 1976, before returning to zombies with Dawn of the Dead the following year. Martin really has a simple premise to it. It's a young man named Martin who may or may not actually be young and may or may not actually be a man. He moves to a small town outside of Pittsburgh to live with his great uncle Kuda. His mom has committed suicide. His great uncle seems to be anything but great. And Kuda pretty much puts Martin in a timeout, slapping him with a set of rules pretty much designed to protect the old man's community, because Kuda believes that his family has been cursed and Martin is a vampire. And you know this because Kuda never uses Martin's name. He addresses him constantly as Nosferatu.
Nosferatu.
Like,
No, I hate to be that guy, but Kuda is not Martin's uncle. It's his cousin.
Yeah.
is it really?
Yeah, that's a
Yes.
great detail because it really does seem to imply that Martin is like actually 84, like he says in the movie.
Yeah.
Like such an old cousin. Like
Why did I think he was his great uncle?
Because of the physical age difference, you can't help but think that,
Okay, well,
yeah, it's
And
so
it-
ambiguous though.
A
but there's,
throwaway
like,
line
little
of
bits
dialogue is
evidence,
not going to
yeah.
correct that.
Yeah, I guess I missed that footnote. I did. One of the things that cousin Kuda tells Martin is that he won't kill Martin and rid the family bloodline of yet another vampire, which is great because there's nothing that makes an orphan young man feel more welcome than being greeted with an immediate vow of destruction. It's not really the best thing. It's not the best thing to welcome a young man who's completely lost. He says, first I will save your soul, then I will destroy you. Like, okay, thanks for saving my soul, but could we leave out that destroying part? Could we cut that out of the equation completely? Yeah.
It almost feels like he's LARPing Van Helsing or something. Like it
Yes.
really feels like
Mhm.
like it is just like they're just both into like just pretending to be vampire hunter at first. But of course there's the opening scene that's
Yeah, that opening
story,
scene,
though.
we see Martin chow down on some unsuspecting lass in the train, but he's not a traditional sort of vampire, if he's even a vampire at all. Like crosses and garlic don't affect him. He can't turn into a bat. His fangs seem to be a syringe, and his charm is being awkward and not charming whatsoever. We're a long way from Bela Lugosi in this movie.
Well, I actually really appreciate the fact that he goes out of his way to kind of scoff at the, quote unquote magic, where he's saying, no, you can't control people's actions through, telekinesis or mind control. You can't, the sun, though, maybe about bugs my eyes a little bit if I get hungry. And I also kind of appreciate the fact that, especially during that first scene, you see things through Martin's point of view, where he's imagining bursting into this lady's cabin on the train, and she embraces him with open arms. And in the meantime, he bursts into the cabin while she's flush, walking out with like face cream on. And I just thought it was kind of a neat. It basically said that you're kind of vampire movie that you're probably expecting, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, it's like a really nice juxtaposition between the romanticization of vampires and what the actual reality of that kind of situation would be.
Exactly,
She's not
yeah.
like she's not like coming in all sexy or anything. Like she's like got a whole face mask on, I think. Like
Mm-hmm. Well, and especially the way that he dispatches her. in the Bela Lugosi movies and all those other classic vampire tales, the vampires are really sexy and alluring, and this is just grotesque.
Yeah, it's it was really awkward. I have to say.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I was like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
all right."
Yeah, because he strips
it really
down.
sets the tone.
He strips down and it like strips her down, and it's almost like some sort of lovemaking ritual with her. And it's really gross and disturbing. Nick, what did you think of that opening scene with the woman?
I mean, it didn't like. I didn't really until the old man, the cousin, comes in after that opening scene. I thought it was just like this really weird kind of like cannibalistic kind of fetish thing. Like it doesn't smack vampire thing to me at all. So all of a sudden, when the old man comes in and he's like, "No Speratu," I'm like, it really weird. I was like, what? Like, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, okay, this is a vampire movie, and he's trying to flip some of the tropes on their head. I mean, it was good. I mean, it was interesting. It like the opening scene hooked me. I wish the rest of the movie had done that, but we'll get there.
Ooh.
I mean, the opening is really funny because, like, at a certain point, like, it feels like he can barely conjure up the strength to overpower these women. Like, he's so wimpy. So, like, at a certain point, like, the woman in the opening is just, like, openly mocking him and, like, you fucking asshole, get off me. Just getting so aggressive with him, and he's just like, just go to sleep. Just like, like he's not even like that much of an intimidating figure. Like,
Yeah.
but he's just kind of like crafty. Like he's just, I guess that's usually the reality. Is like a lot of these, I guess, wingnuts are, you know, not the most physically imposing people.
New. Now, what did you think about like the whole family dynamic? Because I'm still, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, but I'm still trying to figure out if vampire or if this was just kind of a commentary about how mental illness is hereditary, was just kind of a crazy person who was made crazier.
Yeah, you get that idea because Martin's family might be a little bit insane, and you get the sense that maybe the constant accusations that he's a vampire mixed with a little bit of that genetic insanity has kind of made him the very thing that he's sort of denied ever being. However, he seems to love being that, I guess. It doesn't seem like a sort of a curse whatsoever to him. It's just something he does.
I'm really interested I mean, at least for me, and I don't know if anybody else can speak to this, but at least for me, subtext that he was a vampire at all because of the like black and white flashbacks we get to him, like all the exorcism stuff with the priest, like the black and white stuff that we get, which is clearly meant to be him in the old country, I guess. I never had that conflict within me where I wondered if it was just him imagining this stuff or if he was crazy. I just always believed he was a vampire, like the whole time. I'm honestly kind of more interested to hear that take on it, like where it's dissecting whether or not maybe he was, you know, just had a mental illness or whatever. Because we never see enough of the vampire tropes completely that we're in that realm where we can entertain maybe he wasn't at all and maybe it was just a crazy thing or something.
I like the idea that it's just totally ambiguous because it's just sort of like, I always appreciate that in a horror movie where there's a sense that it can appeal to either person's ideal kind of horror situation where it can either be, if you're afraid of the supernatural, an explanation, or if you're afraid of a realistic thing where it turns out that it's just a guy who is really sick in the head and external factors are not helping his situation any further, then that can work for you too. Like, I always like it when there's just these dual explanations, like where it keeps you thinking afterwards. So personally, I like the idea that he is this vampire. Like, I don't know. I personally like the idea, but I like the idea that he could just be a guy. Like, because either thing, it does keep you awake at night thinking, like, what? Because actually, there was a guy who feasted on people's blood, like, around this time period. I didn't go into further details, but he did, like, engage in cannibalism and drinking blood. So this is just something that could actually happen. Like, there could be a real life vampire. Like, it's spooky.
Yeah, that frightens me more than him being an actual vampire. The thought that there could be somebody out there just slicing people, drugging people, and slicing their wrists and drinking their blood.
Yeah.
When I watch the movie, I tend to believe that he is a vampire, but I also kind of look at it with the opposite thing in mind too. That, well, the flashback sequences are there, but maybe it's just because his family's completely unhinged and they just believe with all their heart that he's a vampire. Because the exorcisms, I mean, they never work.
Well, we also never see, to your point, we never see in those flashbacks, we only see them, the vampire. We never see him doing anything which would tell us as the audience that he is a vampire.
Right. Yeah. He's, I don't know, washing his face or, I don't know, just random day-to-day things. He's never in the act of doing anything evil.
Yeah.
Well, he does cosplay as a vampire at one point in the movie.
True.
Like, just to
flat out troll the cousin.
Like,
yeah.
That's a great scene where it is just this very innocent thing, but like the cousin takes it completely seriously. Like, just like the most goofy vampire costume. Like, yeah, that scene was great. Like, lots of great tributes to like the history of vampirism in the movie. I really appreciated.
Yeah. Now, I guess I'm the odd man out where I don't think he was a vampire. I think all of the black and white scenes were kind of explained away in that opening sequence where these are just fantasy elements that he has in his head. Just like he imagined that the lady in the boxcar was going to welcome him with open arms. He's either been fed or stuff that he's conjured up on his own. But at the end of the day, I still don't think it matters whether or not he actually is a vampire because the cousin clearly believes he's a vampire. Martin clearly believes he's a vampire. So who cares as far as the story goes? It doesn't matter.
It can be argued that he is like what makes a vampire because in his mind, all the elements, they don't actually exist. So what makes a vampire in its most basic element is that you have a desire to drink blood, which he does. Like, he seems to go through withdrawals like it's a drug. But I think fundamentally, if it is like a condition, I think that's really all that matters. I don't think he's like a supernatural vampire necessarily. I mean, maybe a prolonged life, like it does. There's just a lot of his backstory that's very vague that just it can, like, you can add to it because the movie is also very abstract. So I don't know. I like the idea that he's just this very gritty, realistic portrayal of a vampire.
Yeah. Now, another thing I really appreciated about this movie, and I feel kind of skeevy saying this, but was I the only one who was feeling bad for him? Because he's clearly the loneliest vampire ever.
Yeah.
He's very sexually frustrated. He doesn't.
He's never done the sexy stuff.
He's never done the sexy stuff.
Well, I don't think it's just that he's sexually frustrated, but he can't really communicate with anybody, whether it's his other cousin's boyfriend, the people at the store. He just can't really seem to connect to anyone. The Lonely Housewife, apparently.
Yeah. I think what the quote he has that really stands out to me is, like, he says at one point to his uncle when he's cosplaying as everybody's ideal of a vampire, he says there is no magic. There's no real magic ever. And I think that speaks a lot to his kind of his state of mind. Like, it leads me to believe, like, are demons real or are they man-made? Because And scenes right before that, we have George Romero. He's playing a hotshot kind of young priest who comes to town, who seems more interested in drinking wine and than anything else, and being kind of a local celebrity. And it, his uncle kind of, or his cousin. I am sorry. I just want to call him his uncle. I know.
It's your
I'm out of
cousin
line.
Martin.
Yes.
Martin Barry.
He asks the folks if they've seen The Exorcist, and the very next scene is kind of a satire of an exorcism where Martin just basically walks off as this old school priest tries to perform this exorcism.
Tommy Thompson, $20 donation, and Kelly Joe, $20 donation. Two $20 donations right in there. And of course, Tommy, we love you, even though you
don't.
That last segment was a nightmare.
Yes.
Thanks for the donations, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Keep those donations coming, people.
Keep
absolutely.
them coming,
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen. Keep them coming.
Yeah. So, Sid, what did you think overall of Martin? Are you a Romero fan? I know you've been doing videos on the zombie Romero movies.
Admittedly, I mean, my main familiarity is Creepshow and his zombie films. I saw Bruiser. I've seen some of his other more obscure movies, but yeah, mainly the zombie films. So I hadn't seen Martin before, but I had first heard about it when he mentioned it in his Dawn of the Dead commentary, and it sounded really intriguing. But it's like one of those movies that's by if you want it physically.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think all physical copies out of print, and I ideally wanted to get an actual physical copy, like in preparation for this, because it could also have some special features that could shed some light. But
yeah,
no, hoping like Scream Factory or something just puts out like a new release or something, because it's fortunately your only option is like to watch it on YouTube, pretty much. I don't know if maybe it's on streaming services, but this was a blind spot for me. But I'm glad I saw it because I do appreciate it, because it does have this. It's really abstract where there's just lots of blank spots where you can just put a lot of your own different interpretations into. And I also appreciate like all the experimental stuff going on with it, like just like really just changing up the style throughout the film, where in some places it feels like totally different movies, where at the end it feels reminiscent of the opening of Dawn of the Dead, where it's the apartment raid, like where the drug dealers are getting shot, like lots of like that's something I do like about them, where go in totally different directions a lot of the time, where they feel like they never get old, where it feels like a totally different movie, like every now and then. But I also just like the framing device of Martin's just weird 1930s universal horror imaginings and dreams, like just lots of really great technique. It's not as super because like in some places for long stretches, if I hadn't seen the opening of the movie, I've even known it was a horror movie for a while until Martin like does that home invasion. So it's not like a super exciting
and even
movie
then
throughout, and very like inspirational as far as like a great movie to study if you're a horror fan. Favorite movie that he's done.
Now, I actually thought it was great because I don't think he did any other movies that could be considered character studies. Did he, Sid?
Oh, well, he did Bruiser. That was a movie where, like, it's very that movie is also abstract. Where it's a movie about this guy who wakes up one day and he's just got like a mask stuck to his face, like just this blank Michael Myers looking mask that's just stapled to his face, and he's got to figure out why it's there. And he goes on this he ends up going on this killing spree. Like that's definitely a character piece. He's done stuff like that.
Okay,
but it's definitely this is much more interestingly done than that movie, though.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed just the mood and the atmosphere that this movie kind of puts the audience through. I don't know why, but it just feels like one of the saddest horror movies ever.
Yeah, it is a bummer. Where I do honestly feel bad for the audience of that radio show at the end. Like they're like, we want more of the count.
Yeah,
Mm,
because all throughout the movie he's
Like,
pretending to be the Count, or he is the Count, I guess, calling into a late night talk show on the radio and basically describing what his nightly activities are and the urges he feels as a vampire. He's sort of the town's local late night celebrity in a way, and they can't get enough. It reminds me kind of what is it, Psycho 3 or 4, where Norman Bates is.
oh
on,
yeah, 4.
yeah, he's
yes, the beginning.
yeah, he's on the phone, kind of relating his childhood to the call in. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can definitely see that now.
Yep.
Yeah, and just like Psycho 4, there's like some incest like implications, kind of.
Yeah.
Where I mean, like where there's throughout, like Martin never shows any interest in his cousin's granddaughter, but like they keep thinking you better not leave her alone with him. Like, or it's just
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was the scene where she's on the phone talking and she's upset with her boyfriend and he's just looking at her legs. So it's like, okay, that's kind of ick.
yeah, it's weird stuff in this movie. they I think the opening is probably the most awkward stuff. Like they get the most awkward stuff out of the way.
I know. I gotta say that the home invasion.
Oh well, yeah, the home
definitely
invasion, yeah.
because he is stalking this woman in preparation to drug, rape, and kill and consume her. And he
Actually,
finally,
that's something I'm never clear on. Does he actually kill them? Like,
I don't think
clear on that.
he actually ends up killing her because he ended up drinking the blood of the guy that was in there.
Yeah, he definitely kills that guy.
Oh yeah. But I thought it was really super awkward because the guy that's banging this lonely housewife thinks that Martin's the husband back early from the business trip. And both he and Martin are just too confused to really fight at first.
I've just got to say, like the one thing that Martin or Nosferatu, whatever we want to call him, he's really got to get a faster acting sedative.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
multiple times in this movie, he with that hypodermic needle, that sedative, and they are just up and running around and fighting for just like you got to get something that's like boom, bump.
Yeah,
like
it was the 70s, man.
Yeah, that's what I like.
That's something I do appreciate.
Yeah, me too. That's probably my favorite scene in the movie because you realize how kind of ineffective as a vampire he really is. He's got to drug these people, and he's awful at it too. And you get the feeling that dude could have overpowered him at any time.
Yes,
and he just had to rely on that drug to finally take him out after 3-4 stabs later.
It's something I do appreciate because he's not like a Michael Myers or some kind of other horror villain that's like totally effective to the point where I'm rooting for the victims. Where to the point where he's ineffectual enough where you're like, I kind of want to see this guy. I kind of feel bad for this guy. I want to see him go through on these horrible things because it is just like, come on, just let this guy have one win. Like I don't know.
Right. Nick, what was your feelings on what you saw?
I mean, and so here's the thing, and I came into this discussion before it, feeling one way, and now just listening to this discussion, especially, I mean, like I'm really intrigued by the ambiguity of whole time. I never questioned that he was supposed to be a vampire. It adds this whole subtext to me that I wasn't expecting. There are long stretches of this movie where, as Doc said, nothing happens. And you're questioning whether or not this is a horror movie. And I was ready to come in here and be like, this movie bored me to absolute tears. I'm really, like, honest to God, like, I'm reflecting back on a lot of it and, like, really thinking of it. And kind of like Tom Call was saying, like, fairly different perspective that you can view this from. It it kind of opens up a completely different avenue of it for me. So it's a movie and a discussion about a movie wherein I'm turning over or something, just kind of like my thoughts are just like tumbling like so quickly. Just, I mean, if a movie can make you think that much, I think at the very least you got to say it's really effective. At the very least,
Did I actually change Nick's mind on a movie?
You did the impossible, sir. You
Oh
did
my
the impossible.
god!
The epic film guy himself.
Steel in your bare hands and just bend. And if anybody could do it,
Wow.
Man.
really, like I came into it and I mean, granted, I've had all of this going on and everything as I was trying to watch this, so maybe I wasn't watching it with the most active mind, but like I watched it this morning in preparation for the segment, and I was just kind of like, this movie, what on earth did they have me watch? Because like the whole time, like I'm watching it, I'm like, where, like, why, what is all this stuff about? Like, what is, I love that subtext that you add to it, Tom Cole. I really, really do. And it really, in my mind, I'm just like 100 different directions, like just in my head, just listening to you guys talk about it and just kind of and peeling it at the different layers of the movie. It's unique among a lot of movies I've seen in that way, that I think it provokes that kind of discussion, which I appreciate. That's why I appreciate you guys. I appreciate this segment even more now than I did when it started a half an hour ago. So you guys are bloody legends, and I love you.
Bloody
Romero has that quality where you can appreciate it on just like the surface level of, oh, zombies, oh, a vampire guy, but like you can rewatch it and like pick up new interpretations of what things were actually supposed to mean, and like the deeper satirical elements that he weaves into his movies, where it's rewarding experience rewatching a Romero movie, especially if you don't like it at first, because I feel like even if you don't like it the second time, you'll still pick up on things you didn't notice the previous viewing. Because I'm not saying like he's hit it out of the park with every movie. Like he's made some less than stellar movies, especially later on. But
yeah,
he always puts a lot of thought into his movies, even when they're not the best, and that's always like that's something where there's a lot of effort and thought put into his movies, even when they're not great.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree, and I mean, a lot of my Romero, I've seen a couple of the zombie movies and different things like that. I of course never see any movies. Never mind that whole hosting a film podcast for 5 years thing. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, most of my exposure to Romero was when he was the boss monster on Call of Duty Zombies. Whichever episode of that I think that was 2. I think that was Black Ops 2. Like so. I mean, yeah, I'm just when I first watched it, and again, it was just this morning. I had one opinion of it, and it stewed, and I was just like, man, that really, it didn't provoke any thought in me whatsoever. And you guys have actually, I mean, really, and I mean this very sincerely, just this discussion has instantly, made me kind of rethink to where I actively want to revisit it again. I want to rewatch it from Tom Coe's eyes, in Tom Coe's
cut
point of view, and I want to see it from that perspective of, is he really though, and is it just this crazy family beliefs and stuff? Because yeah, there's all this stuff with the granddaughter. He never actively like makes it, tries to bite or feed on the granddaughter, any of that kind of stuff. And there's never, I mean, if you want to think about eschewing vampire tropes and lore, there's never anything in the movie that he does aside from just eating blood, which that could just be a kind of weird serial killer thing he does. That is part of it. Is part of it. I'm so intrigued. I'm more intrigued by this movie now than I was after I watched it, like 100-fold.
And honestly, the whole mental health aspect. And I'm not saying this to excuse the actions of what he did. He is an awful rapist, murderer, stalker. I'm not saying it sympathetically, but in a way, it does make me feel even worse for him because he's one of those monsters that was created as opposed to born.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I love the idea of any kind of content, any kind of movie, any kind of art that provokes discussion like this. I mean, like I literally shit you not, 5 minutes before this segment went live, when we were still dealing with the absolute chaos that is Tommy Thompson.
Yes.
I had written this movie off in my head. I was just like, Jesus Christ, I don't want to spend an hour talking about this. Now I want to spend more than an hour talking about it. It's just,
yeah, because
when
I asked Nick in that segment, I'm like, what did you think? Don't give me too many spoilers. He was like, well, and I'm like, oh, he hated it.
It's better than Cool Cat Saves the Kids.
Yeah.
Now, Nick, I'm sorry, Randy.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get this movie reviewed for the better part of a year, if not longer. I gotta know, what do you think of it?
Okay, there were some parts of it that were sort of slow for me. I do appreciate what was his name, John Amplis, who plays Martin. He does a lot without any dialogue whatsoever. He has very few lines. He's very good with his looks and the way he kind of commands the scene in any given scene that he's in. It's very interesting to me because it's very unlike any sort of horror movie I've seen before, I think. Especially any sort of, I love the idea that it completely flips the vampire trope on its head. I enjoy any movie that does that takes a tried and true thing and kind of gives a fresh original take on it, which I feel like this is. Like I said, there are some scenes that kind of drag for me. I wasn't really clear, and maybe one of you fine gentlemen can clear it up for me. I sort of assume that periodically throughout the movie, Martin will be looking around or in a room and start hearing Martin, 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 Martin. I assumed kind of that might have been his mom that committed suicide, but I'm not sure. Did the movie ever say?
Not sure either. Part of me is thinking it's some kind of, I don't know. It kind of reminds me of like, there's just something sort of atmospherically Dracula-esque, the 1931 Dracula. Like, so there's something like Vampire Bride-ish to it.
Okay,
like his imagined vampire brides or something. Maybe someone from his past that's like guiding him. Maybe there's an interior voice. Maybe he's actually schizophrenic. Like, there's explanations, but like everything is definitely just all of these aspects to his character. They're definitely it's almost an element of the soundtrack to a point, which the soundtrack is actually really great in this movie. Like,
that's exactly what I was thinking.
The opening, like when they get into the city, like, oh man, like just so haunting. Like what's the name of the composer? I think he's the brother of Richard Rubinstein, the producer of this movie, who does appear in this movie in a cameo as like the cuckolded husband who leaves his wife and who leads to the home invasion. Oh man,
we got to shout out L with a $25 donation and Destruction in Human Form. Jared Taylor again, $11.41. Thank you so much, everybody, for your donations. Every penny again goes to a future immune to cancer, to immunotherapy research from the Cancer Research Institute. Thank you for your donations, everybody. Thank you.
All right. Composer is Donald Rubinstein. Okay. Just wanted to clear that up. Great score. Honestly, probably one of the best scores I've heard in a Romero movie. Like, and it really fits the feel of the movie. Like, and there's like, it does a lot of crazy things. Like in some scenes, it almost sounds like you're a circus theme, like just some kind of wacky music that plays. Like Romero always like selecting music for his movies, like that sometimes blend perfectly with the scene, or sometimes really just plays up just a satirical element, like just where he's not afraid to like have goofy music play in a serious horror situation. I definitely the soundtrack's great.
Yeah.
Now, do we want to spoil the ending of a 44-year-old movie?
Yeah, I was going to bring up the ending, so I feel like it's fair. Spoiler, people.
So Martin has this affair with the bored housewife, and I can't remember her name, so I'm just calling her bored housewife. And clearly she's suffering from major depression. She's got a bad alcohol problem, and she's almost kind of reaching out to Martin as somebody to connect to.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough for her, and she ironically kills herself in a way basically mirroring the setup of the scene of the crime from the opening movie.
Yeah.
Where she had scattered sedatives, sliced her wrist, and bled out.
Yeah.
And word gets around, and Cousin Kuda, has probably one of the most gnarly alarm clocks in film history for Martin, where he warned him, "Anybody from this town, I will destroy you on sight." And he immediately stakes him through the heart. And I got to say, that was just a very, very unpleasant scene to watch. Between the sound of the mallet hitting the stake and the grunts everywhere, it was just awful to watch.
I think this was Savini's first movie, and he appears as a character in the film, Arthur, who was
Yes.
The granddaughter's boyfriend. And I think this was his first movie as an effects artist, and it's a great first effort. Like, there's no over the top gore or anything, but like where there are like the stake through the heart, like just very vividly realized.
What really sells the ending to me is because you actually start to sort of sympathize with Martin. Like, he calls in as the Count, and he basically says that he shouldn't have friends, not even for the sexy stuff. You realize how kind of lonely and pathetic he really is. And then you see him marching in a parade randomly, and in a voiceover in the same call into the Count as the Count, he kind of says that he's come to terms with his life. He's happy where he is. And then the very next scene, he wakes up with Cousin Kuda and the stake right there. And that final shot of him dead and bloody and laying there, it's a powerful shot, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the ending because it is just it's just great irony where he didn't even have anything to do with this death, but he's still gets it pinned on him, like, and I think it was unfortunately gonna always happen too. I think she would have killed herself no matter what. So yeah, it's just this really unfortunate, ironic bit of fate.
I think the other thing that was inevitable was either Martin or Kuda were going to kill the other person. There was no way this movie was ever going to have a happy ending.
Yeah, part of me feels like, well, no, but I do feel like it is one of those situations with Kuda that he's like a kind of an anti-hero, like where he sees himself as a hero, but
yeah,
he's not. He's kind of the antagonist of the film, because we do follow Martin throughout the film, so he's kind of he's this evil character, but he's the protagonist. So yeah, he does flip things on its head too, because like usually in vampire films we have like a human character that we relate to, but we're forced to relate to the vampire, and we kind of don't really the actual typical hero of the story. Like I just really well done, I guess, approach to the characters in the plot.
That brings up a good point, because you wonder who is the who was more insane, actually? Is it Cousin Kuda with his old school beliefs and his belief in the cursed family bloodline? Or is it Martin, who is flat out committing all these heinous acts, and maybe he believes he's a vampire, maybe he's a vampire, but I don't know. Who's more insane? Like, who's the actual bad guy? Or are both of them the bad guys?
They both are, and they were
Yeah.
feeding into each other, which made that ending inevitable.
Does his belief give him a scapegoat for his serial killing? You know, for the acts, the violent acts that he commits. Well, it's because I'm a vampire. Like, does you know? Because I think that he definitely believes he is a vampire, but the question is whether or not he is one. You know, is that an easy way for him to scapegoat and be like, oh, this is why I do what I do, so I just,
Well, not only that,
whatever.
but it's also an easy way for Kuda to rationalize the way that he treats his granddaughter, because he treats her like a slave. He didn't want to even let her have a phone in the house, and he ended up driving her away as a result of his religious madness, for lack of a better term.
Nick, what did you think of the ending?
I thought the ending was abrupt.
Okay.
If nothing else, I really like this movie is not done any favors by it's 94 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty brisk. I really feel like there were really slow portions in this movie, like we've talked about. Like legit, all of a sudden, like Martin wakes up, the cousin is standing over him, stake through the heart, end of movie. I was like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, that's not it. Like, that's seriously it? I was expecting Wes from via VHS. Cancer is the only thing that sucks more than Wes. I'm not reading the rest of that message. I saw Batman versus Superman in there. I will not hear your slander, sir, but I will thank you for your $25 donation, my friend. Thank you. But
thanks for the donation.
I just thought the ending was really abrupt. I thought the ending was very, very abrupt to the story, because and maybe more to the point, and kind of my epiphany about the film a little bit here during talking about it, but I felt like there was more here. There was more that this could have done, and for all of a sudden for it to just get to this point and be like, yeah, steak, boom, done, see ya.
Have you ever seen the Universal Dracula Bela Lugosi? No. That has an abrupt ending where in the space of like 2 minutes, Dracula runs away to his crypt, and then they stake him through the heart, and they're like, all right, we beat him, and then they leave. They just leave. That's a very abrupt ending. Like, this ending feels like it goes on for like 20 minutes compared to that.
Well, really, I thought that the whole third act was pretty rushed, where he falls in love and then becomes sloppy in his bloodlust, gets a bunch of drug dealers and cops killed, gets his
that was the weirdest scene in the movie, because all of a sudden they needed a bunch of bodies, because all of a sudden it was like the horror movie's got a horror, so it's like, all right, let's just kill these randos.
Yeah, it was
it's sorry.
No, I was gonna say the setup was really long, and then the payoff was just boom, done.
Yeah,
it felt like one of those kind of funny situations where they're initially after this guy, but then they come across these bigger targets, like these bigger criminals, so he just gets away like easily, where you think, okay, here's where he's gonna get his downfall, but then it turns out it's where he feels where you think he's gonna be most safe, because like you don't necessarily take the cousin seriously. Like he it feels almost kind of playful, like it feels like at the opening, like it's just like, this guy's just full of it. He's not actually gonna do this, and then he does. Like, he's just been threatening it for like 90 minutes, and then he actually does it, and you're like, whoa! Like, even though he's been threatening it, like I just couldn't see it coming. Like, it definitely took me by surprise.
To your point, Nick, allegedly the original runtime on this movie was 3 hours, and once it was edited down, we were left with this.
God.
Yeah. And all that material was lost after the edit, apparently. So, and to your point, Sid, it is going to be released on Blu-ray and even 4K sometime this year. via Second Sight. So it is going to be.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah, they did a well. I mean, they did that great 4K release of Dawn of the Dead, but that's only in the UK. So I'm guessing we're gonna have to like ship it like from the UK. They're not gonna localize it to the US, which is unfortunate. I'm still hoping for like US releases of Dawn of the Dead in this. But I guess I'll ship them if I have to.
Ironically enough, the reason why we don't have easily available copies of this movie is the exact same reason for Dawn of the Dead. The rights holder is just asking ridiculous prices for distribution.
Did he try to make a 3D version of this movie too, or? It's really ridiculous.
I don't know what else to say about this movie, but it's definitely one that is going to reward several rewatches, I believe.
I agree.
I think a huge horror fan, it's definitely worth a watch just because it has lots of interesting ideas going for it, and it challenges your perception of what a horror movie can be. At least it challenged mine, and it had an atypical villain / protagonist. And it just utilized all kinds of interesting filming techniques and editing techniques. And yeah, it's definitely interesting if you're interested in being a filmmaker, especially making horror movies, just because it has all these great ideas. It doesn't have the best pacing, but it's a fascinating movie, regardless of that.
Yeah, and I would emphasize too that it, and I'm not somebody that digs horror at all, but there's a lot to actually kind of get into here, even if you're somebody that just kind of digs character study kind of stuff. I love that Romero just kind of eschews all of those vampire tropes and kind of even through the radio program makes fun of some of them. This is all crazy. The movies are crazy. All these different things. I really enjoy those elements of it. In that way, and I think it provokes more discussion. So even if you're somebody who is kind of just like you're on the fringes of it, you dip your toes into horror every once in a while, like I do. There's something for you here as well.
Other quick factoids about this movie: one, the band Soft Cell, who was behind the song "Tainted Love," actually wrote a 10-minute long song titled "Martin," inspired by this movie. So that's a thing. Similar to Romero's Dawn of the Dead, Martin was edited in Europe by the legendary Dario Argento and called Vampire, with a score by the band Goblin. And
that's the version of the movie I'm really interested in seeing, and I really hope that's available on this upcoming release.
Yeah, Goblin score really sells you.
That and the Argento cut,
sure,
and the Goblin score. Let's face it, they were great in Dawn of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Was it recut for Europe too, like Dawn of the Dead?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be interesting to see if there's like new material that's not in the U.S. cut.
Also, this was George Romero's favorite film that he did of his. This was his fave, so this is it. Also, in other George Romero news, coming soon on Shudder, George Romero's lost movie, The Amusement Park from 1973, is being released, given a full restoration. Apparently, Romero was commissioned to direct the movie by the Lutheran Society to raise awareness of ageism and growing older, and his widow, Suzanne Romero, said it's his most terrifying film. So I guess we'll see.
Is that a horror movie, or is it?
I suppose so. It's going to be on Shudder.
I haven't even heard of it. Like, I did a lot of research.
It is if you're elderly.
The weirdest thing that I saw that Romero directed was he directed in the mid-'70s a documentary about O.J. Simpson, like 20 years before the murder trial. So, it's called The Juice is Loose.
Oh my God!
It's just very interesting. Like
Oh my God!
Another entry in his horror catalog. It's kind of like a horror prequel film, kind of.
Please tell me this is available on YouTube.
No, I tried to track it down, but all you can really find when the murder trial happened, they did reissue it on VHS.
Of course,
they did re-release it, so You could probably find it on eBay, but yeah, it's not online that I could find at least.
Wow.
Tomko, you can find this. I believe in you.
Yeah, do it, Tomko. Do it.
I will look for this.
All right. Martin might believe there's no real magic ever, but boy, have we created some magic tonight, boys. Right,
Yeah.
Nick?
I mean, this. I mean, like I said, I really appreciate discussions like this about movies, even movies that on first viewing I might not appreciate a lot. It really makes me think a lot about them. So thank you very much for this. Thank you guys and Tomko and Randy for bringing Doctor Wolfula to us here on Livestream for the Cure as well. It's been an absolute treat. This has been one of my favorite movie discussions in a long time. It really has.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
It's 90% because Tomko was here. I mean,
well, he classes up any room, right?
And thank you, folks who donated too.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Yes,
very
thank
much,
you.
everybody, for donating. You are, I mean, everybody, even if you're viewing, and this is something that we've been really punching in here a lot during live stream for the Cure. But even if you're not donating, even if you're just watching this, you're keeping us toward the top of our category on Twitch. You're keeping it so a lot of eyes can see us, and you're keeping it so a lot more people can help us. Thank you. Thank anybody. Gerald, thank you so much. $10 donation from Gerald. Thank you so much for donating. It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, I love the power of content creators and the podcasting community, the YouTube community, everybody coming together for a common cause, like fighting for a future immune to cancer, something that I believe so many of us just imagine that world, I daydream about that world. I dream about that world. I want that world. So thank you to Randy, Tomko, and Dr. Wolfula. We've also been plugging Dr. Wolfula's YouTube channel over here in the chat as well. So before Randy and Tomko, I give you guys the floor to plug yourselves. Dr. Wolfula, can you please let our audience know where they can find out more about you?
Oh, just on youtube.com/Dr. Wolfula and Facebook, Instagram, Twitter /Dr. Wolfula is pretty much where you can find me. So feel free to subscribe and follow anywhere you frequent on the internet. Yeah.
What do you got coming up on your channels?
There's going to be a video on Hatchet, which is this nice 80s throwback film that was released in 2006.
Yeah.
Featuring Kane Hodder playing a character named Victor Crowley, who is an homage to Jason Voorhees, who he played in the most out of any Jason actor. So I'm looking forward to releasing that video. It's a very interesting film, and it's unofficial Friday the 13th movies, essentially.
Okay.
And yeah.
Cool. Tomko, where can people find you, sir?
Oh, well, you can find me on a little show called Jake and Tom Conquer the World. It has been described as the conversations you hear from the other end of the bar between a couple dorks who are drinking and talking about everything from comic books, movies, to how they'd abuse time travel.
Which is accurate, extremely accurate.
Yes. You can find me on Facebook at a little group called Jake and Tom Conquer the World. I'm sorry, Conquer the Group. And on Twitter at The Drunken Dork. And more importantly, Doc, I want to know, when are we going to get more Gulag?
Oh, there's going to be one actually on Saturday. So yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Randy, what about you, sir?
You can find me on a big dumb comedy show called Miserable Retail Slave. Don't judge us by the segment we had right before this. My God.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that what that was an hour ago?
Oof. Hopefully I redeem myself with this segment. You can find us on...
You're an absolute legend, sir.
Thank you. You can find us on Someone's Favorite Movie. Every week. We're going more or less weekly. What do we got coming up? We got Someone's Favorite Movie. We look at B movies, underappreciated gems, try to find the most obscure movies that you've never heard of and bring them back to the light, because every movie has something that's relevant and something to love about it, I think. What do we got coming up? We're next time I think
franchise.
We're doing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, the whole damn thing, plowing through it.
Yeah,
peaks and valleys, sir. Peaks and valleys.
We had a listener request for the slasher classic, Fade to Black. And I
got kicking and screaming 25 said in the chat, looking forward to Fade to Black.
Perfect.
Nice.
And I uncovered Tomko's favorite comedian, Mitch Hedberg, has a movie called Los Enchiladas that had never been released. We're going to cover that too, in the honor of Mr. Tomko.
I look forward to this, sir.
As all things should be. Let me
Yeah,
just put that out
that's
there.
right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Sid, you're welcome back on our program anytime you want, or every week.
Thank
even you can replace Tomko, and I will accept that.
And you know what? I would accept that.
Like I said, this has been an absolute gem. I absolutely love you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time, for being here, for Livestream for the Cure, for fighting for this amazing cause. That right there above our heads, Livestream for the Cure, Cancer Research Institute, a future immune to cancer for immunotherapy research. That is why we are here. It affects all of us. Please donate, and please make sure, again, Dr. Wolfula's YouTube channel has been in the chat. Please subscribe to that. Please subscribe to someone's favorite movie podcast. I love literally anything that Randy and Tomko do. They are both amazing gentlemen, amazing creators. Please subscribe to all of them because, you do not find better than these three gentlemen that are in the call with me right now. You guys are great. Thank you so much for being here. I love your beautiful faces.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for letting us give back.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got just a mere moment before we're going to be joined by Heather from Just Heathers, and not Just Heathers. She's got podcasts, she's got blogs, she's got photography, she's got literally everything. Yes, Dan? Oh, I thought Dan was coming to yell at me.
Calm down, Dan. Calm down.
Dan, calm down.
Calm down, Dan.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much. Watch this, whether you can donate or not. Even if you can only donate $1, $2, $5. We had Mia donated $4.14. No matter what you can donate,
Perfect.
anything you can donate, every cent that we raise goes to the Cancer Research Institute. Every single cent that we raise is a cent for a future immune to cancer. Imagine, just close your eyes and think about a world in which the body's immune system can cancer, and you don't have to get chemo, radiation, all that stuff. Just imagine that world. Imagine that world. That's a world that I believe in. That's a world that I believe is worth fighting for, and that's why we're here. Literally, we're here until midnight tonight. Then we've got so much more content coming from Friday all the way through Sunday. We've got tons of amazing guests coming up. We were joined by three of the absolute best. There's nobody over in that direction, Nick. I'm pointing in wrong directions based on what my screen is pointed out at. Don't question it. It's okay. My brain has been broken for like 2.5 weeks now.
But Nick, I love you. Thank you for all you do, by the way, Nick.
Thank you.
You don't get enough praise. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank all of you.
Thanks, Nick.
It's because of you guys. It's because of you guys. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I fight. So thank you guys so much. We're going to say goodbye to someone's favorite movie podcast and Dr. Wolfula. Go subscribe to all of them and listen to that someone's favorite movie podcast. That man right there, that beautiful bastard Randy over there. You're the man, brother. You're the man, and I love you.